We always think we have more time. We walk through our lives believing that tomorrow will give us another chance to say the things we hide deep inside. We think the people we love will wait for us forever, like stars in the sky that never move. But life is not a movie, and time is a thief that never returns what it takes. One small mistake, one single moment of distraction can break a heart for 10 long years. This is a story about a love that was written down on paper with hope and tears, but stayed hidden in a dark, dusty pocket until it was 10 years too late. Jack and Lily were best friends from the very beginning. They lived in a small, quiet town where the streets were lined with old, tall trees that turned orange every autumn. From the time they were 5 years old, they were never apart. They were like two halves of the same person. In school, they sat at the same wooden desk, their shoulders often touching as they worked on their lessons. They shared everything: their snacks at lunch, their favorite storybooks, and their biggest secrets. They were a team against the world. They grew up together like two trees planted in the same soil, their roots twisting around each other underground. In the summer, they ran through the green fields behind Jack's house until the sun went down and the fireflies came out. Jack knew all of Lily's secrets. He knew she was scared of loud thunder and would hide under her blankets. He knew she loved the smell of yellow flowers in the spring. Lily knew Jack's secrets too. She knew he wanted to be a writer and fill books with stories of adventure. She knew he was quiet because he had a very big heart that felt things deeply. As they became teenagers, their friendship started to change. It became something heavier and more beautiful. When Jack looked at Lily, his heart felt warm and full. When Lily smiled at him, the whole world seemed to disappear. But they were both afraid. They were terrified that if they said the words, "I love you," their perfect friendship might break into pieces. They didn't want to lose what they had, so they stayed silent. They lived in the middle of a beautiful secret, waiting for a sign that never came. One morning, the news came that changed their lives forever. Lily's family had to move to a big city very far away for her father's work. It felt like a sudden storm had hit their quiet town. Jack felt like his world was ending. He couldn't imagine a single morning without seeing Lily smile at his front door. He couldn't imagine walking by the river alone. The day Lily left was a cold, gray Tuesday in November. They stood on the train station platform, surrounded by the sound of steam and whistling metal. The air smelled like rain and old iron. Lily had 3 big suitcases next to her, looking very small against the giant train. Her eyes were red from crying all night, and her voice was a whisper. Jack stood very still, his hands deep in his pockets to hide how much they were shaking. He wanted to scream, "Please stay, I can't live without you," but the words stayed trapped in his throat. The train made a loud iron noise as it arrived. It was time to go. Lily grabbed Jack's hand and her fingers were as cold as ice. "Jack, promise me something," she whispered. "The city's so big and lonely. I won't have anyone there. Write to me. Put your heart on paper so I can keep it under my pillow and feel like you are near me. Please." Jack looked into her eyes and felt a giant lump in his throat. "I promise, Lily," he said, his voice breaking. "I will write the most important letter of my life. I will never let you go." He watched her wave from the window until the train was just a tiny speck in the gray distance. The station felt like a graveyard. That night, Jack sat in his quiet room. The silence was so loud it hurt his ears. He looked at the chair where Lily used to sit, and he realized he couldn't wait any longer. He couldn't let her live in that big city thinking he was just a friend. He had to tell her the truth. He had to be brave. He took out a clean piece of white paper and his favorite blue pen. He sat under a small lamp that cast long shadows on the wall. He began to write. He poured his whole soul into the ink. He wrote for hours, filling the pages with memories and confessions. He wrote about the time they got lost in the forest when they were 10 and how he realized then that he was only happy when he was with her. He wrote about the way her laugh sounded like music and how her kindness made him a better person. As he wrote, it was like the letter began to speak. The paper felt heavy with the weight of his feelings. "I love you, Lily," the letter whispered from the page. "I have loved you for a long time. I have loved you in the sun and in the rain. I don't want to be just friends anymore. I want to be yours. If you want me to come to the city, tell me. I will leave this town and follow you anywhere. I will wait for you for as long as it takes. I will wait for you forever." Jack folded the paper carefully, making sure the edges were perfect. He put it in an envelope and sealed it. He wrote her new address in his best handwriting. He felt a deep sense of peace. Finally, the secret was out. He thought, "This letter will tell her everything. Our new life begins the moment she opens this." The next morning was freezing. There was white frost on the grass and ice on the puddles. Jack put on his thick, dark green winter coat. This was the coat Lily always told him was his lucky coat. He put the letter into the deep inside pocket, right against his chest. He could feel it there, a tiny paper heart beating against his own. He walked toward the red mailbox on the corner of the street. He was only 2 steps away. He reached into his pocket to pull the letter out. Suddenly, a loud, terrifying crash happened behind him. A heavy wooden cart carrying stones had tipped over in the middle of the street. The horse was scared, and an old man was trapped under the heavy wood. People started shouting and running for help. Jack didn't think twice. He was a good man, and he knew he had to help. He ran over to the accident. He spent the next hour lifting heavy wood and helping the old man get to safety. His hands were red from the cold and scratched from the wood. By the time the doctor arrived and the street was clear, Jack was exhausted. His mind was busy thinking about the old man and the accident. To keep his frozen hands warm, he pushed them deep into his pockets. He pushed the letter down into the very corner of the fabric without even realizing it. He walked right past the mailbox, his head down against the wind. He was so tired that he just wanted to sit by the fire. He thought to himself, "I am glad I sent that letter before the accident happened. Now Lily will know." But he hadn't sent it. It was still there, tucked away in the dark. He got home, hung the green coat in the back of the closet, and didn't touch it again because the weather turned warm the very next day. A month passed, then 2, then a year. In the big, crowded city, Lily lived in a small, lonely apartment. Every single morning, she walked down the stairs with hope in her heart to check the mailbox. She looked for a white envelope with Jack's name. Monday, there was nothing. Wednesday, there were only bills. Friday, the box was empty. Her hope started to turn into a heavy, cold stone in her chest. After 2 years, Lily began to cry every time she saw the mail carrier. She thought, "Jack forgot his promise. He was just saying those things to be nice. He never truly loved me." She felt like a fool for waiting. She thought he had found a new girl in their small town, someone who didn't move away. Eventually, she stopped checking the mail. She moved to a new apartment, changed her life, and tried to bury the memory of the boy with the green coat. But her heart stayed broken, and she never truly loved anyone else. In the small town, Jack was also waiting. He was completely sure that he had dropped the letter in the box that morning. He remembered being at the mailbox. When Lily didn't write back, he grew angry and hurt. He thought, "I told her I loved her. I offered to leave my home for her, and she didn't even say a word." He felt rejected and ashamed. He thought she had found a rich, exciting life in the big city and had outgrown a simple boy like him. 10 years went by. 10 years of silence. 2 people living separate lives, both believing the other person didn't care. 10 years later, Jack was a grown man with a quiet life and a tired face. He had to go back to his old family home to help his mother move away to a smaller place. The house was full of ghosts and memories. Jack went up to the attic to clear out the old things. It was dark and smelled like dust and old paper. He saw an old wooden coat rack in the corner. Hanging there, under a layer of thick gray dust, was his dark green winter coat. He touched the rough wool sleeve and felt a wave of sadness. He remembered the cold morning at the train station. He remembered Lily's red eyes. He decided the coat was too old to keep, so he went to put it in a bag for charity. But first, he did what he always did. He checked the pockets. He put his hand into the deep inside pocket, searching for old coins or keys. His fingers touched something thin, crisp, and cold. Jack pulled out the envelope. His face went white, and his breath stopped in his throat. "To Lily," it said, in his own handwriting from 10 years ago. The stamp was clean and bright. The envelope was perfectly sealed. The world felt like it was spinning around him. Jack fell to his knees on the dusty attic floor, clutching the coat to his chest. He realized the terrible, crushing truth. He never sent the letter. All those years of anger, all those years of thinking Lily didn't love him were based on a mistake. Lily hadn't rejected him. She just never knew. She had been waiting for a message that was sitting in his dark closet for 3,000 days. He had lost the love of his life because he helped an old man at the wrong moment and forgot to look at the mailbox. He opened the letter with shaking hands. He heard the voice of his younger self speaking from the page. "I love you. I will wait for you forever." The words sounded like a ghost crying in the quiet attic. He realized they could have been married. They could have had a house and children and a lifetime of morning coffee together. But all of that was gone. It was a ghost life, lost in a pocket. Jack sat in the attic until the room was completely dark and the air was freezing. He held the yellowed paper to his face and cried for the 10 years they could never get back. He was holding his entire destiny in his hands, but he was holding it 10 years too late. He finally understood that life is made of tiny moments, and if you miss one, you might miss everything. The most painful thing in life is not saying goodbye. It is the silence of a letter that arrived 10 years after the heart stopped waiting.